AEW Dynasty's in the books, Kronus. We're a week late recording this, but better late than never.
Those books are cooked.
Yep.
As the internet has been saying.
That is what the folks have been saying, the streets, shall we say. So we're going to talk about AEW Dynasty, which took place as that time of recording 7 days ago. So we've had a Dynamite and a Collision since. We're not going to go over move for move, match for match, because I'm sure people watching this video may have already watched it. But we're going to give our thoughts on the pay-per-view as a whole, the structure, the matches, and the the future sort of direction from here. Just to start off, I'm not going to use the term worst ever pay-per-view because AEW doesn't do bad pay-per-views. But with this one, I felt this was kind of probably the most underwhelming I've seen in a long time.
By their standards.
Yeah, by their standards. And I think a good description I would give is probably the least value for money pay-per-view.
Yeah, as we said sort of while watching it, a lot of the matches on there were like Collision at best.
Yeah.
Not Dynamite worthy.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the Owen Hart tournament. We're going to talk about the ending. And yeah, let's just go through. I do want to mention the pre-show very quickly because Max Caster had an open challenge and people were thinking, oh, is this going to be Josh Alexander? No, I don't think debuting Josh Alexander on the pre-show would be a good move. It was Anthony Bowens, who's been kind of repackaged, and I like what they've done with him in terms of, the gimmick and his presentation. I think he looks good. But I was just thinking, like, Anthony Bowens came out and he beat Max Caster in 30 seconds, squash match.
Yeah, correct.
And I thought to myself, like, the Acclaimed at one point, you could argue, were probably the most over tag team in the industry, fans' choice babyfaces.
Yeah. 100%.
And they were massively over for a long time, tag champions, and you'd think that a split of a team like that would kind of be a really kind of emotional feud that would go on for a long time, and it kind of just blew off in this 30-second squash match. And last night Anthony Bowens beat was it Blake Christian on Collision?
Yeah, I think it was.
So I was kind of a bit disappointed that it kind of just was a very quick pre-show one and done, but with what could have been, a really extensive program between two people, whether you like Max Caster or not, who were very popular, very close, and that seems to be it for now. What do you think?
Yeah, that feud had a lot more potential. It probably wouldn't have broken any records or won any Oscars, but it certainly had a lot more than just a short 30-second squash match on a pre-show.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll revisit it at some point, but we'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah, onto the main card. We kicked off with Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight. This was an Owen Hart tournament match, and there were 3 Owen Hart tournament first round matches on this pay-per-view, and I think that's one of the key problems with this show was the tournament the pay-per-views are usually kind of blow-offs to feuds or big matches that have been building up for a few weeks. It's just definition of what pay-per-view is in wrestling terms. The match with Will Ospreay and Kevin Knight was really good. I mean, it's Will Ospreay. He doesn't really have bad matches. I've not been familiar with Kevin Knight, but he looks really good from what I've seen so far. So I had no problems with the match itself whatsoever. It just felt a bit out of place on the card. And I think, like you said earlier, Kronus, like this probably is a Dynamite match, isn't it? Like an open to Dynamite style match.
Yeah, they had other tournament opening matches on the Dynamite after.
Yeah.
Didn't they? And Collision.
Yeah.
Last night.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, where do you draw the line? Why are these ones on the pay-per-view and the other ones not?
Yeah, I don't know whether they're kind of pressed for time because the final's taking place double or nothing, isn't it? So I don't know whether they were kind of pressed for time, but it took away from the show overall. The match was great. Will Ospreay advanced. I think we all saw that coming. And another thing about this show that I didn't like was I'm not very good historically at predicting the outcomes of matches on pay-per-view. I've had a pretty bad record recently. But I got 10 out of 10 on this one.
Nice.
And it was, I'm not going to blow my own trumpet. I just thought the pay-per-view was utterly predictable. I thought every match was just really easy to predict who was going to win. And
it was a bit.
that was evidenced even more in the next match, which was the Hurt Syndicate versus Big Bill and Brian Keith of the Learning Tree. Which Large William, yeah. It doesn't... I mean, I love Big Bill. I think he's great. But again, doesn't scream pay-per-view match, does it?
No, again, wasn't much of a build to it either.
No, it was basically them coming out saying, we want the titles. MVP saying, win some matches. They beat some jobbers. That was it.
Congrats, you've got a match.
Bobby Lashley was impressed that they beat those two nameless jobbers the week before. Again, I didn't think the match was very good either, to be honest. MJF being involved in this seems a bit below him.
Well, yeah. Each team's got their own thing going on outside of this. You've got Bobby and Shelton with MVP and MJF.
Yeah.
All of that going on. And then the Learning Tree sort of getting scolded by Jericho.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
So that they're both distracted.
Yeah.
So it's not made for a compelling match, really.
Yeah, or a pay-per-view match, especially. Yeah. It kind of, you're right. It kind of played, the match itself played second fiddle to what each team has going on.
Yeah.
Which is, not the way it should be. And MJF came out on Dynamite last week, and he said that, because everyone was asking, why isn't MJF in the Owen Hart tournament? And to be fair, he said, Tony wanted me to enter the Owen Hart. I don't want to work for it. I just want to get a title shot, which is fair enough, MJF style behavior. But I don't understand how being in the Hurt Syndicate automatically gets him a title shot. I don't understand the logic as to what he's trying to go for there. And obviously it backfired because they don't want him, so we'll have to see where that goes. But I don't know, MJF I think belongs in the world title scene regularly.
Yeah.
So it's a bit less than for MJF, but Hurt Syndicate retain match wasn't that good. MJF sort of helped them by punching Big Bill with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, so a little bit of continuity there. And the next match was Mercedes Moné versus Julia Hart. This is another Owen Hart tournament first round match or quarterfinal match. Again, no real question of who was going to win here. Match was okay. It wasn't the best Mercedes match by her recent standards. I'd probably put it as it wasn't as bad as the Britt Baker match, but it wasn't as good as the other ones she's had recently from an in-ring perspective when you look at the matches against Chris Statlander, etc.
Yeah.
But again, right. Yeah, predictable win for Mercedes in 13 minutes. So we're 3 matches into this card, and we've had 3 matches that probably don't scream pay-per-view and all very predictable.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then we had a bit of meat on the bone coming up. So this card wasn't all bad. So I actually enjoyed the Death Riders Trios title match against Rated FTR.
Yeah, it was chaotic.
Yeah, it was chaotic. It was fun, as you'd expect from these types of matches with the talent involved in AEW. There were stakes, there was titles on the line. There has been a long feud between all involved. I thought the match was good. The Death Riders retain, predictably. And again, the ending was predictable, but the FTR heel turn I thought was very well executed.
Yeah, definitely. Sorely needed. Yeah.
I think you could see it coming at the end where you knew there was going to be a miscommunication between Dax and Cope. Can we not call him that? Can we just call him Adam Copeland? Is that all right? Yeah, it's just
I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
Adam.
Disclaimer. Yeah, Adam. Disclaimer going forward, he will not be referred to as Cope on this channel.
Can't cope with it anymore.
I can't cope with it. Yeah. But yeah, I thought the heel turn was excellent. So how it finished was Edge almost ran into Dax in the corner, and he stopped and went, "Whoa, I'm sorry." And then Wheeler Yuta shoved him into it. Wheeler Yuta delivers the Psycho knee. 1, 2, 3, game over. Wheeler Yuta getting the pin was funny, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bit
of an odd choice.
Yeah, but get that extra heat. So they're all celebrating in the ring, and I mean, it was so telegraphed, wasn't it? But Dax grabs Adam Copeland, delivers a pile driver, and Cash Wheeler is in disbelief, kind of saying, "What are you doing?" Dax gives him a chair, and Cash rejects it. and then he just switches and they deliver the Shatter Machine, and then a pile driver on a chair and 2 concertos to Adam Copeland. So we're not going to see Adam Copeland for a while. I think that's fine. I think even though he's only been back a short period, he has been quite overexposed in the main event scene.
Yeah, quite a bit.
So
in short bursts.
Yeah, exactly. So he'll have some time away. FTR's follow-up to the heel turn last night at Collision I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
They are just better as heels, and I think it's long overdue.
It seems a lot more natural for them.
Yeah. How that plays into the tag title picture, because they said Adam Copeland held us back from the tag titles, so that means they have to go for the tag titles, but Hurt Syndicate kind of heels, FTR heels, so we'll see where that goes. Next up, we had Timeless Tony Storm with Luther versus Megan Bayne with Penelope Ford for the AEW Women's Championship. I think this one did belong on the pay-per-view. Quite a short build-up, but we expect that from Revolution to Dynasty. Not much time.
Yeah, match as well.
Yeah, match was fine. Match was good. Megan Bayne looks great. I said in our current state of AEW video that I didn't want this to be a singles match, and I wanted it to be a multi-woman match. So that Tony could retain and Megan Bayne could survive without being pinned. So the fact that this was a singles match, a lot of people thought they were going to pull the trigger on Megan Bayne. And I stuck to my guns and went with Toni Storm. And she did end up winning in 15 minutes with a small package. Most devastating move in all of sports entertainment.
Deadly.
It's deadly. Even took down the Megasis. I don't know, man. Megan Bayne getting pinned already, it kind of reminded me of Deonna Purrazzo when she came in. Lots of
derailing.
Lots of fanfare, looked great, lost to Toni Storm, and then relegated to Collision. Yeah. And then last night, Megan Bayne smashed 2 jobbers on Collision. So I don't know what the plans are for Megan Bayne going forward. I would have liked to have kept her undefeated and protected a bit longer. And people can say, "Oh, it was only a roll up. All they want." She still lost clean. That's all that matters.
It doesn't really. You can try and keep her strong as much as possible, but if you're going for that monster sort of streak, then you've just derailed it completely now. Yeah,
and they could have thrown someone like Thunder Rosa in there, because she's had a little bit of back and forth with Megan and Penelope. Yeah. And they're not doing much with Thunder Rosa, so I'm sure she could have gone in, taken the pin from Toni Storm, and it could have protected Megan Bayne. She could have gone and done something else and then come back to it at some point, but yeah, not what happened. So Tony retains, and Tony is now awaiting the winner of the Owen Hart tournament, which Megan Bayne is not in. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Megan Bayne. Mercedes is the TBS champion, so I don't see Megan Bayne going after that either. So yeah, it's a difficult one at the moment, but hopefully they've got some plans for her at least.
Yeah, she has money.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Oh yeah, she looks incredible, doesn't she? As a kind of presence. What was next? Owen Hart Cup action. Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe. Again, I thought this match was great. I think they faced each other recently on Collision, and it was great. Didn't they face each other in the Continental Classic, I think? Maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I think Mark Briscoe beat him in the Continental Classic. This was one of the best in-ring matches of the night. But again, it's a weekly show type match, isn't it? Based on, they've literally just been paired together. Very little interaction ever since. And yeah, Kyle Fletcher wins, predictably. We could be looking at a Kyle Fletcher Will Ospreay final, potentially. Run that back. But Kyle Fletcher is going to face the winner of the Adam Hangman Page wildcard match, which I believe is next week. So yeah, another match that didn't really feel like it belonged on a pay-per-view. And at this point we are, well, including the pre-show, I think we're about 3.5 hours in at this point. But don't worry, Kronus, because coming up next was the Ring of Honor World Championship of Bandito challenging Chris Jericho. If you think this pay-per-view needed some spice and needed a shot in the arm, here it is. I mean, there's universal complaints about ROH stuff being on AEW television, let alone pay-per-views. And I know you've been quite vocal, Kronus, haven't you, about ROH should be on ROH.
Doesn't help either, really.
Like,
no. It just diminishes both. Keep them to themselves.
Yeah, I don't think Chris Jericho has been on Ring of Honor television since he won that title.
To be honest, I don't keep up with it. But
no one does.
Yeah,
very few people.
Added another title in Ring of Honor, haven't they, recently? So both shows got enough belts. You don't need to mix them.
Yeah, I saw that. Didn't Tony Khan introduce a new women's belt, ROH Pure Women's title, was it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So that's another belt over there. And AEW belts, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they get defended on ROH.
No, they don't. Not that I know of. I mean, I keep up to date with the pay-per-views.
Not seen it.
No.
So I don't see a lot of it, so you never know.
Well, if they've got an ROH Pure Women's title, then I'm sure Mercedes will have her eye on that very soon.
Yeah.
So
wouldn't surprise me.
Never fear. This one was quite boring until the finish, and not in a good way. This one 18 minutes. Can you believe that?
The longest so far. Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is the longest so far. 18 minutes for Bandido versus Chris Jericho for the ROH title. Title versus mask. So the ending of this match, I was just so confused. So Jericho, obviously Brian Keith's out there. No Big Bill, which was explained on Dynamite. Brian Keith comes out, distracts the referee. Jericho gets Floyd the baseball bat. And he cracks Bandido over the head. Didn't look very good. And he covers him 1, 2, 3. And everyone lost their mind because Jericho retained. The referee was Bryce Remsburg, I believe, or Paul Turner, one of the two. And then all of a sudden you see Aubrey Edwards, who apparently came from Gorilla, right? And she's talking to Bandido's family. And they're screaming, he used a baseball bat. And they're pointing to where he hit it, which was between the ring post and the ring steps. And then Aubrey goes over there. She finds the baseball bat and says to Bryce, look, baseball bat. And they restart the match. Bandido hits the 21 plex, whatever it's called, and gets the win. Happy days. Doesn't have to lose his mask. New Ring of Honor champion. Right result in the end. But a few things. So Aubrey came from Gorilla.
Yeah.
What are people doing in Gorilla, Kronus? They're watching the match.
Yeah.
Right?
So this never has, well, it might have happened once or twice in the history of wrestling, but people cheat to win matches all the time. Nobody ever comes out to do like a VAR review.
Literally happened in the main event.
Match.
2 matches later.
Ridiculous.
Also, presence of a baseball bat does not mean that it was used. So
exactly.
Aubrey Edwards comes out for no reason, apparently, and then she gets grabbed by Bandido's mother and sister, and they say Jericho used a baseball bat. So Aubrey's like, yeah, I'm going to believe the obviously unbiased people here. I'm going to believe them and restart the match. It was just a mess. And like you say, this doesn't happen every time, because if it did, it would be boring. I don't see why Bandido
anymore. Yeah,
Bandido, just win clean. Just win the match, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It was overly booked in a bad way. It didn't make any sense. And I mean, the referees just look silly a lot, don't they? They're not made to look very clever half the time.
That certainly didn't help.
No.
Yeah.
But Bandido is the new Ring of Honor championship. Hopefully we don't see it for a while. Jericho's going on tour with Fozzy, so he's going to be off for a month or two. But next up we had Adam Cole defeating Daniel Garcia for the TNT championship. The match had no time limit, and outside interference was strictly prohibited. God, that would have been great in the previous match, wouldn't it? Problem solved.
Yeah.
And the next match, problem solved. Don't. Right. I just didn't really care about this at all. I know it's bad. I love Adam Cole. Adam Cole's one of my all-time favorites in Black and Gold, but he just I don't know whether it's because his long injury, he's lost momentum, or the botched feud with MJF, which didn't make sense, but I just didn't care, and I still don't. I don't think the crowd did either. The crowd was very quiet for this match.
It almost didn't really matter who won.
Yeah.
It didn't. Well, it was hard to call for me because of that. Because there wasn't really this match matters. There wasn't much to go either way.
Yeah, the title hasn't really felt important since Danny Garcia won it, has it? He's been largely relegated to Collision.
Yeah.
Not a lot of eyes on the title. There's not really been a lot going into it. Danny Garcia is a great wrestler, but as a character, he's very, very plain.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really he doesn't get you emotionally invested as much as he probably could do. Hopefully that changes. He's still young. Adam Cole wins in 15 minutes, new TNT champion. So hopefully Adam Cole can bring some prestige back. I think when they end up merging the Continental and International titles, which they should do all in, then hopefully the TNT can get some more shine as like a proper, mid-card belt.
Yeah, it used to, so it'd be nice to do that again.
Yeah, back in the days of Cody, Brody Lee, Sammy Guevara, those kind of days. Yeah.
They were pretty good times.
They were pretty good times. It's kind of a bit like the US title in WWE. It's just not been very good for a long time.
Yeah. Placeholder almost.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Speaking of mid-card titles, moving on to the three-way match, triple threat for the International Championship, which I think is a very good title. Kenny Omega versus Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey. 31 minutes this went.
Yeah, really good match.
It was amazing, yeah.
Night.
Yeah, whilst I feel it could have shaved off a few minutes, it was great, wasn't it? Best match on the card by a mile. Maybe one of the best triple threats they've ever done. Kenny Omega obviously was winning because of the looming situation with Okada. And yeah, fantastic stuff from all three. All three are great. I mean, I've not been too familiar with Mike Bailey previously, but he's come in, he plays all the hits, great worker, innovative offense, and we know how good Ricochet is as well. So this was always going to be great, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm really liking Mike Bailey actually.
Yeah.
Really fun to watch.
Yeah, he is very fun to watch. Kenny Omega, I don't know what his promo was on Wednesday. That was bizarre. Talking about dog shit and stuff, but he doesn't look very interested at the moment. I don't know whether that's because of his comeback from injury, but he looked really rejuvenated at Wrestle Dynasty, but I don't know, he doesn't seem that interested at the moment. He still puts in the work in the ring and he's a fantastic wrestler. I think we just get through the all-in situation with Okada, which should be great, as it always has been. But the build to that starts now, really. Has to start now. It's probably the biggest match they can do at the moment from a fan perspective.
Definitely, yeah.
And the reason for that is because the main event scene, as we're about to find out, is in the toilet still. The main event, Jon Moxley versus Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship, which apparently, for the AEW briefcase, as you pointed out.
Yeah. Heavyweight briefcase.
Referee, like a dumbass, just holds up the briefcase. Hasn't done that for previous Jon Moxley matches.
Yeah. I did find that funny.
Yeah. 31 minutes, 35 seconds. So we are talking 20 past 5 in the morning for us when this wrapped up.
Yeah.
Match was... I can't believe it went 31 minutes. Jesus Christ. Did it really go 31 minutes? Match was okay, I guess. It was better than the Copeland one at Revolution.
Yeah.
But as usual with AEW in recent months, the conclusion to the pay-per-view has been all that's talked about, and it's largely been negative thanks to the continuity of the Death Rider storyline. And I think with this one, there was more hope than ever that he would lose the title because Swerve was involved. And Swerve was probably a more believable winner than Copeland or Christian were, or Orange Cassidy, for example. And I was kind of on the fence, but I thought to myself, they're probably going to wait to All In, at least. So I went with Moxley. And I think there were 2 points to this. One bad thing was that Moxley won, but the second bad thing was how he won. Where Swerve, towards the end of the match, there's so much shenanigans. Marina Shafir's in there. She hits Prince Nana with a briefcase. Hangman comes out, and we love Hangman. We think he's great, and his story with Swerve is great. And he gets on the ropes, and he's conflicted. And he looks at Moxley, and Mox and Swerve are both standing up, and they're both dazed. And Hangman's ready to hit a buckshot lariat, and he's looking at Swerve, looking at Moxley, and then Death Riders show up. And then Hangman Page fends them off, gets in the ring, and he gives a dead eye to Jon Moxley. And at that point, I thought Swerve was winning.
Yeah.
Swerve delivers a Swerve Stomp. The lights go out, and we think... And Tony Schiavone, my God, he does that terrible thing where he tries to play it off as like a legit fault in the arena. Yeah. He's like, oh, sorry, guys, the lights have gone. We'll get someone to fix. Like, shut up, Tony. We're not 7 years old. We know what's going on. The lights come back on, and the Young Bucks are there with Swerve, one hand in each. BTE trigger, and then Moxley, what seemed like an age later, crawls back in the ring at the same time as the referee. 1, 2, 3. He runs away with the title again. And I think for the second show in a row, it's been a terrible ending. And I think we said last time with Revolution, we thought Revolution was a really good show compared to this one, but the ending sort of is what people were talking about. And that's it. That is the entire card. About 6 hours, including pre-show for us here in the UK. So it was a very late night. And I don't think it was worth it in the end, especially with that ending.
Quite a bit of filler as well.
Yeah, a lot of filler. You could have taken those Owen Hart cut matches off, maybe take the tag match off, and left us with 6 matches that at least had stakes, titles, whether we were excited or not. And the Young Bucks, I thought to myself, if the Young Bucks say they were behind it all along and the documents they were shredding were proof that they were working with the Death Riders, then at least it would make sense. But they didn't do that. They said, we did it for Hangman, right? Even though Hangman clearly attacked Jon Moxley. And then they said they did it as a peace offering to the Death Riders and they want to join forces with them. And then Kenny comes out and says those shredding documents were their private jets and OnlyFans receipts.
Yep.
I was like,
just ridiculous.
What the hell? Does no one take anything seriously here? Like, that is a plot hole they could have made into literally anything to make this make a lick of sense. And they went the complete opposite direction and just treated it as if it was...
It's a joke, really.
Yeah, it literally is a joke. And this storyline gets worse and worse. And there are people who will always defend it because there are people who, there are WWE fans who will just never criticize WWE, and there are AEW fans who will never criticize AEW. But I don't know. I don't know where they go from here. All In, maybe. Are they waiting for Darby Allin to really finish climbing Mount Everest?
It certainly seems that way.
What if he doesn't make it? I mean, that sounds horrible to say, but lots of people do not survive climbing Mount Everest because it's a ridiculously, it's a ridiculous threat to anyone's survival.
Yeah, no, it's certainly difficult. But that, and how long does it take? Because how long can we endure this?
Well, Darby Allin
AEW endure it?
Officially starts his climb on the 15th of April, which is in 2 days' time at the start of recording. No, he's not started.
Right.
Apparently you have to prepare for like 3 months or something.
Right, okay.
But the problem is that he can't win it at All In because he's not in the Owen Hart Cup tournament.
No.
Unless he's the wild card. And he's not survived climbing Mount Everest. It's all a ruse. So the only people who can challenge him at All In are Will Ospreay, Konosuke Takeshita, who advanced against Brody King last night, Kyle Fletcher, Adam Page, or the wild card. That's it. No one else has a chance to win that title at All In. And if
as it stands, anyway,
whoever the wild card is, we'll find out on Wednesday. But it can't be Darby Allin because apparently he's climbing Mount Everest on Tuesday. So if it is going to be Darby Allin, are we looking at beyond All In? Are we looking at Moxley retaining at All In?
God.
Because if anyone beats Moxley before Darby comes back, then what was the whole build up for Darby for in the first place?
Yeah, it would just cut that off completely before it finishes.
Yeah. So I don't know where we're here. The follow up to the Death Riders on Wednesday was poor. Pac has now unfortunately been injured, so John Moxley is going to be deputizing for the Trios titles on Wednesdays. More John Moxley.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got the Trios titles being defended against the Ops. Hook, who was unfortunately sick in the ring on Dynamite.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe and Katsuyori Shibata. I see only one winner, and it's not the Ops. I think this is all leading towards Anarchy in the Arena. I think we get the Death Riders and the Young Bucks versus Swerve, Hangman, and the Ops, which I'm not really excited about, to be honest. I'm not ready to see Hangman and Swerve teaming together just yet.
Yeah, it would be almost too much of an arc.
Yeah. I mean, they can make sense of it, but again, at the moment, doesn't really appeal to me that much.
No.
But the Anarchy in the Arena is a double or nothing staple, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, it's always a fun match.
It is, yeah.
Regardless who's in it, but
yeah,
we'll see, won't we?
Blood and guts as well.
We'll have to keep watching.
Yeah, keeping us glued to the screen. But that is our AEW Dynasty recap. Let us know in the comments what you thought. If you like the content, give us a subscribe. Check out all the other content on the channel. And we'll be back this week with some WrestleMania previews, which will be fun. Look out for the Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Strand one in particular. But any other thoughts, Kronus?
No, just looking forward to WrestleMania at the moment.
Yeah, 1 week away.
Dynasty behind me.
Yeah, 1 week away. WrestleMania, not been the best WrestleMania build, but it's WrestleMania, so you know.
It is.
It's all part of the occasion.
The granddaddy of them all.
It is, yeah. Showcase of the Immortals. That's the one I missed the other day.
Yes.
But we will catch you in the next video, guys. Take it easy.
Yeah, see you soon.